5 tips you can implement in 2025 to finally be fluent in the language you're currently learning. Hello, I'm Fanny. I've been a certified teacher for over 10 years. I currently teach French and English online. I'm also a language student. I've been living in Germany for a year and a half now, and I started learning German. This video is the first of a future series to help language students learn smarter and actually reach their goal of fluency. Tip number 1, find a conversation partner or tutor. I can only recommend this tech talk. She explains how polyglots learn languages. She shares tips from actual polyglots, and one of them said that he started speaking from day 1. This is what I actually recommend, is even if you only know a few words, a few phrases, try to find somebody that you can talk to, a native speaker or a tutor or both. Actually, that would be ideal. But finding somebody in your surroundings, whether it's a roommate, a friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a parent, or if you do not have access to that, there are apps like italki, I think it's called, where you can chat by messages or voice like messages or calls with a native speaker. I tried that myself for Italian back when I was at uni, and that was a little bit awkward at the start, but you can actually, the good thing is you don't have to speak to the same person every time. So if you're not comfortable, you can just change and just like have a small 5-minute conversation with that person. The other option is Preply. I work myself on Preply. I'm a Preply tutor, and you can find native speakers that would just have a conversation with you for like 50 minutes. You would have to pay them, obviously, but to be fair, if your goal is not to have lessons with a teacher, which is the best thing, to be fair, because you can have conversation, they can explain the language. You can also talk to somebody for like $15 an hour, or even maybe less, depending on which country they live in. Even if you're a very beginner, you have to say a few things from the very start. Tip number 2. Find content on social media that is not created for language learners, but that is for native speakers. Let's say you're learning Spanish, you're going to try to find IG, Instagram accounts, YouTube channels, TikTok accounts, whatever you use in the language in Spanish that is made by Spanish influencers, let's say, if you are into that, or any content creator that is actually Spanish, Mexican, that create content for Spanish people or Spanish speaking people. Why? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not a huge fan of content that is I mean, I do consume it as well, but content that is made to learn the language, it's useful. It's great that it's there. I make it myself on my Instagram account every now and again, but I don't think it's very helpful to learn how to actually understand the language, to have an idea of how Spanish, let's say, is used currently by people your age, for example. I'm 31, so I'm learning German. As I said, I would consume content from German influencers between the age of 20 to 35. They talk about their life, they talk about German culture, and that is very insightful because I know how the language is used today by people my age. I know what slang they use, expressions like idiomatic expressions, collocations they're most likely to use, actual words and expressions that I can use myself. So I had to reach a certain level to be able to do that, obviously, because if you start watching YouTube videos for French people about philosophy, let's say, if you're interested in philosophy, you might find terms that you already know in English because you're most likely to understand the topics that you are interested in already, but it might be a little bit discouraging because it would be too hard. So I would recommend to reach a little bit of a level by studying with a teacher or by yourself. And once you reach good enough level, advanced beginner, so like a beginner with a solid base, then I would recommend to do that, because first of all, it's way more interesting. And second of all, you're gonna make very quick progress when it comes to actual understanding of the language and the words that you can actually use. Tip number 3. Be curious. Be curious about the culture of the language you're learning, or the cultures. When it comes to French, there are a lot of French speakers in the world that are on a lot of different continents: Africa, Europe, America. So there are a lot of cultures, but you have to be a little bit curious. A language, I will never get tired of saying that. A language is part of a culture. Watch films, listen to music, learn a little bit about regional, local, national habits or traditions that that people have can help to understand like the cultural references that people have in the language that you're learning. Watch the news, read newspapers, read magazines. I really find reading German magazines super fascinating because the topics that are discussed are current topics that interest girls my age usually who read that. Learn about food. If you're learning French, that is very useful. We love to talk about food. We love our food. We are very proud of it. So if you want to speak French with a native, it's easy to talk about food with them. I don't know anybody who doesn't like to talk about food, and that is French. If you're interested in arts, try to learn a little bit about French arts, for example, or Italian if you're studying Italian. Tip number 4, be very precise when you set your goals. Set very, very precise goals and short-term goals. Rather than saying, I want to be fluent in Spanish, saying, I want to be able to have a conversation in Spanish with my in-laws at the end of March. That is very precise. Why? Because you can assess if you actually reached it or not. It is visible. Can I have this conversation, basic conversation we're talking, in Spanish with my in-laws? So topics, you will be able to list the topics that you might have to talk about, so the vocabulary that you will need, a little bit of the grammatical structure that you will need, and by the end of March, if you're meeting your in-laws, you'll be able to assess whether or not you reached that goal. I would not go above like 3 to 4 months to reach like a goal, and after those 3 months you'll be able to go further to set a new goal, and it's way more motivating to have short-term goals that you can assess regularly. So that means for the year you would have like 4 goals, and by the end of the year you're more likely to actually have made a huge step. It's easier to make 4 smaller steps that gets you to the same point that you would need to do one big step to reach otherwise. Exactly, I don't know. Finally, tip number 5. Set systems, not just goals. Let me explain. I watched this very good video, very insightful video from Ali Abdal a few months ago. If you don't know Ali Abdal, I'm gonna link his video down below because this is gold. Every single one of his videos are amazing. They helped me to actually start this YouTube channel. So, set systems. I'm not gonna lie, language learning is not a matter of life or death. Sometimes your goal of learning a language gets put on the back burner after a few weeks just because we have other things to do, and if you don't see results quickly because you didn't set those short-term goals before, you get demotivated and you're just gonna be like, I'm gonna go on Duolingo, do the longest streak that I can, which is already good. I mean, I started there and I still remember some words that I learned. However, I really believe in systems because I'm just lazy and I'm not really motivated to sit at my desk and study for like an hour. I mean, if you are, props to you, because most of us are not, and that's why you're here watching this video, probably because it didn't work in 2024. So what is a system? Systems are a group of actions, processes and habits that are interconnected, and they make reaching your goal easier because you don't just rely solely on effort and motivation. These are little actions that you would add to your already existing routine to add 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there of language learning in your day. Let's say you have a commute to work and back home in the evening. Listen to a podcast in the language that you are learning. Read news articles on your lunch break. Watch a YouTube video while you're having breakfast in the morning, while you're getting ready. Have a 5 to 10 minute chat via WhatsApp or italki with your native friend in the evening. Every now and again, talk to yourself. I do that all the time. I talk to myself in German. One thing I do a lot, I scroll on social media. This is bad, but at least I'm trying to make it productive and effective by scrolling on German social media. And that's something that everybody does, I believe, that we all scroll on social media, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, whatever. Find your German, Italian, Spanish, French, Dutch content on social media, and that will make this doom scrolling a little bit more productive, I guess.
We don't always have to be productive. I'm just giving ideas of how to use that time to learn something.
So these systems could add, depending on your commute, the time you take to get ready, can add up to 1 to 2 hours of language learning every day. I don't say I do that every day. Sometimes it's just 15 minutes, but I do it every day. I look at the Insta stories of the girls that I follow on Instagram, the German girls. I listen to at least a few minutes of a YouTube video, a podcast. On the weekend, I would watch my favorite show in German. Yes, it's a bit funny to watch Friends in German, but I know Friends by heart now, and I almost feel guilty to watch it again in English, even though it's like a nice entertainment. Watching it in German, this is a topic for another video, really. I would explain. This is my life battle. Why you need to watch your favorite content, your favorite films, your favorite series in the language you're learning. This is so effective. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and subscribe if you want to see more of those videos, because this is just the first one, but I'm gonna make a lot more. If you're motivated to finally be fluent in the language you're learning, please share your thoughts in the comments and tell me what language you're learning and what you are going to do this year to finally master it. I'll be very happy to read the comments and to reply to your questions if you have any, or your insights, your thoughts. So until next time, bye!